Hopefully we're good tonight.
Did she say bewitched?
We'll go ahead and begin, and thank you so much for joining us this evening. It's a little cooler, be a little bit more cooler when we leave on this Tuesday of October 18th. And we'll begin with invocation by Phil Kramer, and I'll lead the pledge. All rise.
Pastor Phil couldn't be here, he got held up, and so I'm one of his associate pastors, so I'll be leading us. Thank you. Father, thank you so much for this opportunity to gather tonight. Lord, I thank you for our mayor. I thank you for our city directors. I thank you for their leadership. And Father, I just thank you for the opportunity to do your business and for their leadership over our city. Father, would you give them grace? Would you, to bring truth and justice and stability to this beautiful city that you've given us. Father, give them the power to do what is right and to rule and lead us in fairness. Father, may our community be known to be a place that is not only beautiful, but a place that is led well. So, Father, I thank you for, again, these men and women who give of themselves, of their time, of their talents. And I pray, Father, that you would just continue to give them grace to lead us well. And Father, we thank you for the opportunity to live in freedom. Thank you for those who serve at every level of our city to bring stability and safety. And Father, just pray your richest blessings upon each and every one of them. Would you guide and lead us tonight? And we pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Please join me in the pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll call this meeting to order. Please call the roll.
Director Aaron Holliday.
Here.
Director Elaine Jones. Director Marcia Dobbs-Smith.
Here.
Director Carol Weatherford.
Here.
Director Karen Garcia.
Here.
Director Steve Trusty.
Here.
Mayor Pat McCabe.
Here. This time we'll consider approval of the agenda. Are there any additions, deletions to the agenda, or items to be moved from the consent agenda to new business? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Director
Second.
Trustee, seconded by Director Garcia. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Agenda is approved. This time we'll consider the approval of the minutes of the regularly scheduled meeting held on October 4th and the specially called meeting held on October 11th. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections to the minutes as presented? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Director Dobbs-Smith,
Second.
seconded by
Second.
Director Weatherford. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. The minutes are approved. Recognition of guests. I'm going to call upon Director Garcia. And we have a special group of ladies here that do wonderful things, and it's a proclamation for National Business Women's Week presented to Sherry Mertz and members of the Hot Springs Women's Chamber. And you're all welcome to stand up at the podium and while Director Garcia reads.
Unfortunately, Sherry got sick this morning. She's not able to be here, but we have the officers and members. You can surround the rest of you can come up too, because we've got a good group of different disciplines of working women, and we want to recognize all parts of the working women. and as this is National Business Women's Week. Whereas working women constitute 76 million of the nation's workforce and strive to serve their communities, their states, and their nation in professional, civic, and cultural capacities. And whereas women-owned businesses account for 47% of all U.S. businesses, generating $2.1 trillion in sales. And whereas the major goals of business and professional women are to promote equality for all women and to help create better conditions for working women through the study of social, educational, economic, and political problems, all of us are proud of their leadership in these many fields of endeavor. And whereas since 1928, the Business and Professional Women's Foundation has been spotlighting the achievements and contributions of working women during National Business Women's Week, and whereas the Hot Springs Women's Chamber of Commerce is active in the city of Hot Springs and encourages women-owned businesses and recognizing the contributions of women to our workforce and to our economy. Now, therefore, Pat McCabe, Mayor of the City of Hot Springs, and on behalf of the entire Board of Directors, does hereby proclaim October 17th through 22nd, 2022 as Hot Springs Business Women's Week in Hot Springs. And we urge all citizens, all civic and fraternal groups, all educational associations, all news, media, and other community organizations to join this salute to working women, encourage and promote celebrating the achievements of all business and professional women as they contribute daily to our economic, civic, and cultural purposes.
Good evening, Mayor, City Manager, City Directors. We are here on behalf of those who serve as a platform to promote the achievements of female individuals, granting them an opportunity to showcase their procured accolades like never before, such as teachers, bankers, realtors, accountants, flooring advisors, and many other professions. We, the women of Women's Chamber of Commerce of Hot Springs, proudly accept this award with perseverance and devotedness on behalf of the women in business everywhere. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the city manager's report. And Mr. Burrow, you're up.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the board. Over this past week, we've been doing a lot of work in our downtown business district, from pressure washing the sidewalks. Then our traffic division crews came in with the arduous task of cleaning the hundreds of large round glass domes over the decorative light poles. They also painted all the poles and also did quite a bit of striping on the curbs and parking areas in the downtown area. Cleaning of the domes used to take place just about every time we replaced a bulb, but since we've gone to the energy efficient LED bulbs, that's not as often. So they're trying to get those on a schedule to where we're cleaning those a little more often during the year. But want to thank the traffic crews, is also our public works department and the contractor we had coming in to take care of the sidewalks. Downtown looks a lot better because of their efforts, and just really appreciate what they were able to do getting us ready for our Christmas season. Nearly $50,000 has been received through the Water Assistance Program. You've heard me talk about this in previous meetings. Our utility billing services has received $47,656 through the Low Income Housing Water Assistance Program since July the 1st. That doubled in the past month, but we've been able to help 160 of our residents and customers with their past due bills. It's been a great program. We're happy to see that our residents continue to take advantage of this federally funded assistance program. And again, want to thank our utility billing services staff for making the City Hot Springs a registered vendor in this program. It has certainly helped many individuals within our community. Our airport fire station is moving along with its expansion and remodel. Over the past week, excuse me, the exterior of the new addition has been completed. The interior framing work is complete. A lot of the walls and the sheetrock's been installed, and over the next week or two, we should have that wrapping up. And that affords us to have both male and female bedrooms within that facility. So, really happy with Chief Davis and the work they've done to bring that to fruition. We've been trying to do that for a couple of years now. And then finally, want to thank the Solid Waste Department and the Household Hazardous Waste event. It was a very successful event. They collected over 2,300 pounds of e-waste at that particular location, 252 tires. They had several community service workers there helping with the event, as well as 7 of our solid waste employees. There were 256 vehicles that came through during that period. I think it was from 8 to 1 on this past Saturday. They still collected 252 tires, even though we had marketed that we would not be accepting those. There's some issues with the state tire program, so we tried to slow on the intake of tires. However, we knew everyone wouldn't get the message and didn't want to turn anyone away. Sometimes those tires don't make it back to the place they came from, so we went ahead and accepted those, and they just did a phenomenal job. We don't have the final numbers on the disposal of all the household hazardous waste, and somebody asked me one day, what's household hazardous waste? I usually tell them it's usually anything you find under your kitchen sink or on the shelf in the garage. So really proud of the work they did, and just want to thank them again. And finally, the burn ban's been lifted for both the city and the county. So you're able to burn, and hopefully we'll get some rain this week and we won't have to reinstate that. But I know that Chief Davis, as well as our volunteer firefighters and our county judge, are keeping an eye on that. And if we don't get some rain over the next week, we'll probably have to implement the burn ban again.
Very good.
That's it.
Thank you. Board of Directors announcements regarding upcoming events. Director have an announcement? Director Garcia.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a couple of events. The Garland County Library is partnering with our Parks and Trails on these 2 activities. Currently, through the end of November, we have Story Walk along the Hot Springs Creek Greenway Trail. And this is in the southern trail section of the intersection of Adams and Seneca. Story Walk, its mission is to promote early literacy, physical activity, and quality time in nature. There is Leaf Man by Lois Elhart, and along the way, you can collect leaves, twigs, acorns, and anything that catches your eye to create your own Leaf Man, or I add Leaf Woman. Also this Saturday, the 22nd, beginning at 9 a.m. and going through noon, it will be the 2nd annual Fish-O-Ween Family Fishing Derby and Fall Festival at Family Park. That's a lot of F's. The event is free and open to the public. However, it is requested that you could register at the GarlandCountyLibrary.com because there's going to be pumpkin patch, games, crafts, activities, and a free hot dog lunch. So they want to make sure they have plenty of food for everyone that plans to attend. And the Game and Fish will have personnel there. They've already stocking the pond with channel catfish, and there's a 3 fish per person limit. But they will also have a live alligator show and tell. And I want them to be showing away from me if I bring my grandchildren out there. But it'll be a fun morning from 9 till noon, and bring the family out for fishing and fun.
Any other announcements of, yeah, Director Holliday?
Yeah, I have a couple of events. One, the Civitans here in Hot Springs are actually hosting an event this Thursday at the library. It's called Know Before You Go, and they're having a conversation about the 4 issues on the ballot coming up in November. So if anyone has any confusion or wants more information, this Thursday at 5:30 at the library, you can get more information and be part of a discussion about those initiatives. Also, a couple things going on in Park Avenue. One, I brought this darling little pumpkin. It's time to start taking the pumpkins out of the community garden on Park Avenue. They're going to start this Wednesday, and pumpkins are 75 cents a pound. It's a fundraiser for the community garden on the corner of Holly and Park Avenue. And then also there's a trick or treat on the 31st that'll take place at Watkins Park from 6 to 8.
Very good. Any other announcements? This weekend is the 23rd Annual Hot Springs Corvette Show. And there'll be a parade through downtown at about 4 p.m. on Friday afternoon. And then the Corvettes will be on display at the convention center, you know, a fair amount of the day on Saturday. So if you're a car enthusiast, you know, come out and take a look and see what you'd like to have when the time's right. So, okay. Anybody else have a upcoming event? We'll go ahead with the consent agenda. These are items of a routine nature that do not merit individual discussion. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented. Director
moved.
Garcia, seconded by
Second.
Director Trustee. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Consent agenda is adopted. Within the consent agenda, we did have some committee appointments, and we're always appreciative of those who step forward and serve on our various committees. But the Hot Springs Arts Advisory Committee has the following have been appointed to that committee: Karen Wiley and Kenneth Blackwelder and Kara Gunter are all now members of the Hot Springs Arts Advisory Committee. So thank each and every one of them for volunteering and stepping forward. This time we'll consider old business. Consider resolution R-22-157. I'll ask the city attorney to read by title.
Resolution R-22-157, a resolution declaring a certain structure located at 1104 Park Avenue a nuisance and condemning same pursuant to Title 17 of the Hot Springs Code. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you would, entertain a motion second to adopt.
Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Who made the motion?
Karen.
Director Holliday, thank you. Seconded by Director Trustee. And our staff report will be provided by Director of Planning and Development, Ms. Sullivan.
Thank you. Good evening. At your October 4th meeting, the board continued this item, which was a request to condemn property at 1104 Park Avenue. The property was owner-occupied until the early 2000s, but has been vacant for many years. The structure poses health and safety risks. The structure was inspected and deemed unsafe for habitation because of extensive structural and foundation deficiencies. The Arkansas Fire Prevention Code, Volume 2, Building, in Section 116, Unsafe Structures and Equipment, states, structures or existing equipment that are or hereafter become unsafe, insanitary, or deficient because of inadequate means of egress facilities, inadequate light and ventilation, or which constitute a fire hazard or are otherwise dangerous to human life or the public welfare, or that involve illegal or improper occupancy or inadequate maintenance shall be deemed an unsafe condition. Unsafe structures shall be taken down and removed or made safe as the building official deems necessary and as provided for in this section. A vacant structure that is not secured against entry shall be deemed unsafe. I'd like to clarify some conflicting facts in testimony at the October 4th meeting, and a chronology representing the enforcement record for 1104 Park Avenue is in your packet for this meeting, specifically including and following January of 2022 court action resulting from the owner's failure to respond to numerous notices to comply. The outline summarizes: on January 25th, the owner was found guilty by Judge Graham of violating 5 counts of the Vacant Structure Code, and on 2 additional counts was found not guilty. After a hearing to determine sentencing, the court fined the owner $2,500. At the end of February, the owner appealed the district court decision to circuit court. And in July, Mr. Vicentic was found guilty by Judge Ohm in circuit court on 5 counts of violating the Vacant Structure Code, and the fines were reduced from $2,500 to $2,000. As to an allegation made by Mr. Vicentic at the October 4th meeting that the building official turned off power at 1104 Park in September 2018, excuse me, please, Neighborhood Services Inspector Veazey responded to a complaint of vagrants living in the structure. Upon arrival, Inspector Veazey observed electrical wiring strung across the interior. She called the building official to assist. The building official ordered removal of 5 people occupying the structure. The building official determined building conditions to be unsafe, and the building official reports that Mr. Vicentic, the owner, was present at that time. Observing unsafe electrical work done without permits or inspections at that time, the building official told the owner personally that he had no alternative but to order the power to be discontinued. It's important to understand how a building permit works. A building permit is good for 6 months, and it expires then unless an inspection is called for. Upon inspection, the permit renews for another 6 months, and so on. At November 4th's meeting, statements were made about other structures being as bad as 1104 Park Avenue, and questions were asked about why this one is up for condemnations because other buildings are as bad. And there's no question. We have a limited budget for condemnation and abatement. We have numerous complaints about this building specifically, and I believe you received today a half dozen or more very recent complaints regarding the building. Other buildings, such as the abandoned nursing home to the north and the Mountain Air buildings immediately south, could definitely be in better shape, but do not raise complaints or appear to present such a hazard as 1104 Park. And I just want to say, this isn't art. This isn't entirely science. We are balancing public health and safety. We are balancing the efforts of a neighborhood to pick itself up and become great, and the limitations of owners in many cases being able to repair or bring a structure into compliance with the code. However, we are here today because of the inability or unwillingness of this owner to bring the structure into compliance, to request that you consider condemnation of 1104 Park Avenue. Thank you.
Any questions of Ms. Elman?
I just wanted to thank you for including more recent photographs of the current conditions. And I wanted to, it appeared that one section does have windows, but there's still a section that does not have windows.
That's correct.
And that is how vagrants can enter inside. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any further comments or questions for Ms. Selman? Thank you.
Thank you.
We have a number of people who have signed up to speak on this matter, and first I would call forward is Mr. Vincentek. Please come forward and restate your name, address, and city district, please.
Dragon Vicentic, 119 Winding Ridge. There were some pictures that are recent ones that show that people can get in, because I'm not aware of those. And I don't think they put them up on the screen either, but the house is completely closed off. There's no way to get in there.
There's photographs that show, current photographs showing some windows out. Not I mean, no glass or nothing, not boarded up.
There's no way for anybody to get into that building. I don't know which photograph you're talking about, and I haven't seen it either. Can somebody put it up on one of the screens?
Can you bring it up?
We have one here dated 10/11/22.
I can put up on the screen the ones taken today. These were taken today by James Hardage.
Yeah, they're dated from 10/5 through now.
I have those as well. These were the ones that Mr. Hardage took actually today.
Okay, and which windows are missing?
Well,
There's 4 there.
there's the,
Because my maintenance guy was up there 4 days ago, and he boarded up one window that was broken out that was on the front side.
this looks like it's on the side. See that board in that middle? It's do you see that?
Yeah,
No,
I
or
can't,
that?
I can't tell that that's a missing window.
Yeah, you can see it close up.
At any rate, so 2 weeks ago, we were here, and we saw a house that was up for condemnation that was scotched up in the back by blocks, and in the front, the porch was at a slant and it was about to fall off. That's a structure that's condemnable. This ordinance is being used illegally to bully. I have not seen any structural or foundation pictures or any engineering reports that show that the house is unsafe. It is boarded up. Again, I had my maintenance guy go up there several days ago, and there was one window on the front side of the house that he boarded up and painted it white. 3 weeks ago, I asked Mike Scott in an email for a list of non-compliant items, and I still don't have that list. So I don't understand what's non-compliant about it other than politics. There was nobody here that was against this last week. I don't see anybody again this week.
Well, we'll just continue.
Okay, so, miraculously this week, we have people here against it, but they weren't here at the last board meeting. This is a witch hunt. This planning department doesn't want to do the most important part of their job, and that's to rezone and help business grow. But they want to turn growth down because of politics. And now, because of politics, the planning department wants to be the building beautification police. This is ridiculous. Condemnation proceeding has been brought up against 1104 Park Avenue, and the board needs to discuss specific rules and regulations that need to be followed by the planning department, not what other people are calling in and complaining about. This shouldn't be about politics. It should be specific rules that need to be followed by everybody, not just, oh, we don't like this house, let's call and complain about it. It's a wrong direction for the planning department. It absolutely is. And this is why I ask this board to do the right thing and vote against this frivolous and illegal condemnation proceeding.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody have any questions of Mr. Vicentek?
No.
Mr. Vicentek? Could you come forward? Could you come back, please? Director Garcia had a question. Mr. Vicentek?
I just wanted I don't know what the politics reference is, but the biggest concern I have is anything related to public safety. And if there were people able to get in there as we go into cooler temperatures now, it is even a bigger concern of a fire or any one getting hurt on the premises if it's anyone's able to get in there. That is a public safety.
So that's what I explained early on. I was dumbfounded to hear her, explain that people could go in as they wanted, and that's just not true. That's just a lie. Like I said, I have maintenance people that go up there once a week to check on it, and there's a huge homeless problem on Park Avenue. And part of it is because of the two buildings next to me, the old Mountain Air buildings. People go in there all the time, and I heard recently that a lot of people will run off. We do keep it boarded up. We don't allow people in there. I'm very proactive in that. But structurally, again, I haven't seen anything. I haven't seen any structural pictures. I haven't seen any structural reports.
They were in our packet that was made available last Thursday.
Made available to who? I've asked the head
It
of.
was online.
I've asked the head of the code department, the code enforcement department, for what do you want to see? Why wasn't I furnished those reports?
It's available to the public online.
Why is it not available to me?
It is.
I requested it. Why can't it be sent to me?
Oh,
Because it's not there. There's nothing structurally wrong with it.
I'm just saying what these pictures that we were given shows the windows.
Where are
out.
they?
Yeah, I'd like to see them too.
Well, see this,
That's not a structural picture there.
No, what she just brought up was this section here. That's why I asked that question, because today's pictures are close up of that.
And the answer is that it's closed off to any vagrants. It's checked weekly to make sure that none of the windows are broken or the front doors to where vagrants can get in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See this picture, if he's not seen it, but this was from today, and it shows that window is not there.
That's not structural. You were saying
I
structural,
said
and that's a
people could
window.
get in. I didn't say
Window out.
structural.
You didn't?
Well, there's
No,
any
sir,
number of
he did.
reasons. Let's continue. We have a number of people who are here to speak for the resolution.
she's-
And
point
I'd
of
like
order.
to call upon Ms. Angie Ezekiel. Please come forward and restate your name, address, and district, please.
Angela Ezekiel, 508 Mountain Valley Street. I'm not a direct neighbor of this property at this address. I live in another part of Park Avenue. I can say that in the 8 years that I've lived on Park Avenue, I've met many of the neighbors of this property and have spent times at their houses. And I've seen the property from many different angles. From the Mountain Air, from next door, from the street, from Edgewood. I haven't seen a lot of improvements. A gentleman tried to make some improvements, and part of that was to raise the roof line. Now, the windows may or may not be, open at the moment, but the building is open. You can see from those pictures that that raised roof line is not a wall. There's no wall there. So since we live next to National Park and Forest, if there's an empty property, there's rodents, there's mice, raccoons, you name it. You can see those things coming and going. Whether you see homeless or not, those folks are sneaky. The animals live there. They come and go in my yard in the middle of the day. I'm sure they come and go from there as well to neighboring properties. Excuse me, I'm a little ill tonight. I personally don't have anything against Mr. Vicentic. I don't know of any political agenda here. I do know that we all take pride in our neighborhoods where we choose to live, and he chooses to live in a different neighborhood. I'm sure he takes pride in his property there and in his relationship with his neighbors. And we, as the rest of as his neighbors, we just ask that he would show us some respect in that way as well. We're all trying to improve our area, and we're not seeing a lot of improvements on his part. And it's not a matter of whether I want to see another property torn down. I would just like to see everybody take the same effort and thoughtful consideration to each other. Now, I hope that no one thinks that this is a personal attack on my part. I just want to see us all raise each other up and do better together for Hot Springs. There are several properties going into Park Avenue that don't look good. His is just one. It's not a crusade against that one. Just so happens that we're here tonight for that one. Thank you for hearing us.
Any questions of Ms. Ezekiel? Thank you. Ms. Linda Stoner, please come forward and restate your name and address, please.
Hi, I'm Linda Stoner. I live at 109 Sulphur Street. And so I'm in the Park Avenue neighborhood. And so I have to drive past this home to go to Gopher Gorge or whatever. I get people to come visit me from out of state, and they drive past these places and don't understand. One of them inquired about the property. They thought the house looked really neat and found out about all the structural problems and the mold. I personally know somebody who is autistic and went into the house without any problem and took some pictures. So I've seen that myself. I thank God he didn't get hurt. I wish that we could go ahead and have this remedied and move on. I know progress takes time. When I moved here 5 years ago, my realtor said, "You're the kind of person we want here. We want to improve Park Avenue." And it's just frustrating to see how much still needs to be improved. And I also don't have anything against the homeowner. I don't know him. I just know that's a start. We need to keep moving and make progress with our neighborhood. That's really about all I have to say.
Any questions of Ms. Stoner? Thank you. Ms. Karen Pentello, please come forward and restate your name and address, please.
My name is Karen Pentello. I live at 416 Ramble. I walk by this house daily, and I also spoke on behalf of the neighborhood in January when this went up in front of the court. And one of the issues that I have is the safety, because I've actually witnessed people coming in and out of the house that have stayed there. I've seen animals come in and out of the house. It was not secure. After the court, after he was fined, there were the doors that were on the back part of the house. They were not there. And one of the things that we had brought up was that it needs to be safe and that there were people coming in and out. That those back doors were not secure. They were not. I mean, most of the time you could just walk right in. And I know that it was just recently that a door was put on the back. You had talked about the windows that are on the side of the house that you can access. You still can access through those windows. There are not window panes. And as far as structurally, up at the top, there's it's open to the elements so that rain can come through there and continue to damage the property. I really care about our neighborhood. I care about the people who live in our neighborhood, and I want to see it improve. And like others have said, this is not a political issue. This is an issue of, I really care about Hot Springs, and I really care about our neighborhood, and I want it to be a safe place. And I want people to take pride in our neighborhood. And this house is not safe, and it should be condemned. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is or guest is David Nykirk. Please come forward and restate your name and address, please.
Hello, I'm David Nykirk and I live at 416 Ramble Street. I just wanted to say that I would love to see the houses in the area brought up to good standards, living standards. And we're doing the same with a few properties on Ramble Street. And we just would like to see the continuation of things being fixed up or made room for something of a better nature. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Those are the names that have signed up to speak. I know we might have had some people come in a little later. Is there anybody else who would like to speak on this resolution? Yes, please come forward and state your name, address, and district, please.
Hello, my name is Shay Childs. I live at 112 Edgewood, which is right across the street from this property, and I've lived there for 19 years. And the property has just, sadly, I know Dragon, I know you, and I've not seen you over there very often. I knew someone that lived there 15 years ago, maybe more, and there was black mold in it then. Since then, it's just continued to deteriorate. I mean, putting plywood up over and over again isn't fixing the problem. The repairs that were done in the last year, that roof that you see is, I don't even know what the intention was for that, but it hasn't improved the property any. That lift truck that's in the yard now, it doesn't run. The windows are broken today. I see it every single day. I see people going not only into the White House, but the two adjacent buildings. I know that they're a different owner, but they all need to be condemned. The roof if you go to the front of that White House that we're talking about today, and you look in the living room, the ceiling has it's all just fallen. I mean, if that's not structural, I'm not sure what you're looking for structural. It is a brick building, like it's not gonna fall down anytime soon. And I haven't been on the roof, but I can tell you that it has not improved one bit in the 19 years I've lived there. And I think there's been 2 or 3 different tenants. They don't stay long because inside is not much better. So I live there, my kids grew up there. It has not improved the property any. It has not improved the neighborhood any. Plywood and broken windows isn't maintaining a structure. And I think that a condemnation is in order. I know that if Dragon owns other properties, and if this is one that he's really attached to, I'm not really sure what his intentions are. I just got here late. But this one's going to take a lot of money and a lot of time to bring up to snuff. And it's up to snuff is not where it's at right now. It's a danger, and it's an eyesore, and it's just inviting the homeless population that is living in both the Yellow Building and the White House whenever they feel like going in there. And also just kids coming in there every single day. Like, we've called the cops numerous times. They're breaking glass, they're breaking windows. It's either a fun house or a danger trap. So it's just, there's nothing good about it at this point. And I think that we need to forget about it in our neighborhood and move forward. Thank you.
Any questions of Shay?
5 questions of me.
No questions? Okay, thank you. Anybody else wanted to speak on this resolution? Seeing none, discussion amongst directors? Discussion amongst directors?
Mayor, I did have another question for the Director of Planning.
Director Selman?
If I may. In this picture that was just on the screen, I wanted to follow up because the neighborhood services had hired a contractor to secure these openings in the structure back in the spring. And so these open areas now have been broken through since then? Is that
That's
what
my
happened?
understanding.
Because based on this timeline and the dates, it was your department had to hire someone to secure it, and now it's been broken through again.
I'm I'm not remembering that. Um,
That was next door, that's correct.
Okay.
It's next door, Karen.
Oh, well, I mean, I'm just looking at
That's
the,
next door.
so this building hasn't been secured where this windows are out?
Not in the recent timeline that we're looking at, no.
Okay, and with the, is there a current permit, building permit?
No, there is
There's
not.
not a current building permit. And, but like has been brought up on other properties, if the owner was making improvements on this and working and kept it secure, y'all would work with the owner to do that?
If it was secured, if there was a permit, if the permit was active and the permittee was asking for and having regular inspections, then that permit would remain active.
Okay.
The openings need to be closed. It needs to be secure.
Yes.
Otherwise, it meets the building code description and definition of unsafe building.
Yes, I mean, the biggest concern is public safety.
And we're doing that with every other building along Park Avenue?
We absolutely are not.
Because you have one down the street, it has no windows in it at all.
We have to respond to those that we get the most complaints on.
And you don't get any complaints of the one down the street with no windows in it?
Well, there are many houses down the
I'm
street.
not talking about a house, I'm talking about the big building. The nursing home has absolutely no windows in it.
I can't recall a recent complaint on that.
But you do have a file on that that's
We
been
have a
worked.
file. Yes, we
'Cause
do.
there was a notice sent to the owner about that as well to secure.
Mhm.
It's
Yep.
just not as far as long as this file. Is that the difference?
Yes. They have received vacant structure notices beginning earlier this year. And a second notice went out in May. A third structure notice, vacant structure notice, went out in October on the 5th.
So if we condemn this one tonight, can we see condemnation proceedings going forward with the one in front of it, the Mountain Air, and the one going down the street? Because those are in just as bad a shape. That's
Well,
what you wanna
that
see.
decision is made by the board.
No,
and we
that's
will
made by
pursue-
you bringing it to us. That's not by, we don't come to you and say, hey, condemn this, unless somebody on this board's asked you to condemn that.
Perhaps I misunderstood. I thought you were intimating that the planning department could condemn. We cannot. We can recommend.
That's what I'm saying. You would have to bring it to us. We can't.
Yes.
Any additional questions of Ms. Solomon?
I would like to say one more thing.
Please.
Unfortunately, Park Avenue is not the only area of the city where complaints come frequently. And with the resources we have, we try to allocate those in a way that is fair to the city as a whole.
Well, the two structures that we recently condemned, the field house, and if this building gets condemned, you don't have enough money in your budget to even touch those floors, to condemn them and tear them down.
I expect that they would be costly. A big part of the cost would be safely and legally disposing of the rubble. It would be very expensive.
But before tearing it down, it would be secured where it couldn't be accessed.
The owner has the option to secure the building.
And
And-
if he doesn't,
Comments?
then somebody, they'll have to tear it down.
When money's available.
Any other comments from directors?
Sit there that much longer.
I just want to say, you know, when we condemned the field house, I think more this building and the field house are similar compared to even the Mountain Air next door, regardless of what they look like, because you have that combination of the wood structure and the wooden components and the brick components. And I think we all agree, for the most part, the brick components still appear to be stable. You know, when you go there, when you look, but there's a lot of components of this structure that are wood, that have been exposed to the elements for years. Without going in it, I would assume are unstable, but you can tell by looking at it, you can see through the building and see daylight from multiple directions. And just like Ms. Childs mentioned, you can actually see in the pictures from the 11th of this year, you can look through the glass windows in the front and see that there are sections of ceiling that have fallen down. So there are structural issues with this. It looks like there's places where the soffit is sagging. There's places where it's completely missing. These are the things that are on the checklist for all of the other homes that that we look at. And right now, I'm looking at this property. You know, looking at the Mountain Air next door, looking at the nursing home, looking at, unfortunately, probably hundreds of other properties in the city is for another day. Today it's for this. And with these pictures, with the conversations I've had with neighbors, with personally physically picking up debris from the street that has come from this property, you know, it's time. And my hope is that by voting on condemnation, it is additional motivation for positive visibility, either for someone who may have the means and interest to buy it, for the owner to let it go so someone could do that, or for investment to be put into it. But as it stands, it's not doing the neighborhood any favors. It is unsafe, it's breached often, and it's time for another step, because all of the steps, including court, have clearly not motivated this owner to do anything with this property. And if it is that important to him, then do something with it. If it's that meaningful to own, then own it and take care of it, like how everyone else is required to. And if nothing happens with the Mountain Air and with the nursing home, I'm sure it will be in front of us at some point. I wouldn't be surprised at all. But today, we're looking at 1104.
Any further comments from directors? You know, we deal with condemnations on a, you know, pretty much, well, not every board meeting, but because they kind of come in series at times, but and the condemnation isn't the end. We're hoping it's the beginning, and that it's the beginning of securing the building, having constructive dialogue with city staff, building inspectors, to ensure that the public health and welfare is safeguarded, but also then to ensure that the building itself can be safeguarded, and to the degree that those lines intersect and move in the same direction, then that's a win. So you know, it's again, we've said this to many a property owner. You know, condemnation doesn't mean we're taking it down tomorrow. It has a 30-day process. They can take out a building permit, demonstrate a plan of action, and work with building officials as to what plan of action would be sufficient or appropriate in this particular situation. So you know, we're all hopeful that structures can be maintained. We're also hopeful that structures can be secured and then progress be made. So again, it's not, condemnation's not the end. It hopefully is the beginning of a restoration. Any further comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Director Holliday.
Aye.
We're calling roll right now. I'm sorry. Continue.
Director Dobb Smith,
Aye.
Weatherford,
No.
Garcia,
Aye.
Trustee,
Aye.
Mayor McCabe.
Aye. Resolution is adopted. Now we'll begin under new business. Consider resolution R-22-162 and city attorney to read by title.
Resolution R-22-162, a resolution levying 0 mil of ad valorem taxes for the Fire Officer Retirement and Pension Fund. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you would, entertain a motion second to adopt.
Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Director Dobb Smith.
Second.
Seconded by Director Garcia. And our staff report will be provided by City Clerk Harmony Morrissey.
Thank you. Each year, the board must certify to the quorum court the amount of fire pension millage pursuant to the Arkansas Constitution. The recommendation for this year is to levy 0 mil for 2022. These would be 2022 ad valorem tax rates that would be collected in 2023. For reference, at 1 mil, the estimated 2022 contribution would be approximately $3 million.
Very good. Any questions of Ms. Morrissey? Do we have anybody sign up to speak on this?
No, sir.
Didn't think so. Any discussion amongst directors? Zero. Hearing none, we will call the roll.
Director Dobb Smith,
Aye.
Weatherford,
Aye.
Garcia,
Aye.
Trustee,
Aye.
Holliday,
Aye.
Mayor McCabe.
Aye. Resolution adopted. Now we'll consider resolution R-22-163 and ask the city attorney to read by title.
Resolution R-22-163, a resolution levying 0 mil of ad valorem taxes for the Police Officer Retirement and Pension Fund. If that concludes your reading, Mayor, if you would, entertain a motion second to adopt.
Motion.
Director Trustee, seconded by
Second.
Director Weatherford. Again, City Clerk Harmony Morrissey will provide the staff report.
Thank you. Once again, the board must certify to the quorum court the amount of police pension millage for 2022. The recommendation is to levy 0 mils.
Any questions of Ms. Morrissey? No one signed up in the audience. Any discussion amongst directors? Please call the roll.
Director Weatherford,
Aye.
Garcia,
Aye.
Trustee,
Aye.
Holliday,
Aye.
Dobb Smith,
Aye.
Mayor McCabe.
Aye. Resolution is adopted. Now we'll move on to resolution R-22-164 and ask the city attorney to read by title.
Resolution R-22-164, a resolution levying 0 mil of ad valorem taxes for the General Fund. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you would, entertain a motion second to adopt.
Motion to
Second.
adopt.
I'll make a motion.
Director Weatherford, seconded by
Second.
Director Garcia. And again, staff report. Harmony Morrissey, City Clerk.
Thank you. Once again, the recommendation for 2022 is 0 mils for the general fund. It is worth noting that 1 mil would produce an estimated revenue of approximately $1 million.
All right. Any questions of Harmony? No one in the audience signed up to speak?
No,
Any
sir.
discussion amongst directors? Please call the roll.
Director Garcia,
Aye.
Trustee,
Aye.
Holliday,
Aye.
Dobb Smith,
Aye.
Weatherford,
Aye.
Mayor McCabe.
Aye. Resolution adopted. We have final two action items are ordinances. We'll begin with ordinance O-22-42, and I'll entertain a motion to suspend the rules to read by title only.
So moved.
Director Trustee, seconded by
Second.
Director Holliday. We have a motion and a second to suspend the rules to read by title only. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Please read by title.
Mayor, this is ordinance O-22-42, an ordinance amending ordinances numbers 5532, 5742, and 5941, known as the City of Hot Springs Flood Management Prevention Ordinance, by prohibiting camping on public property within flood zones. That concludes your reading. If you would, entertain a motion second to adopt.
Motion to
moved.
adopt.
So
Director
moved.
Weatherford, seconded by Director
Second.
Trustee. Let's see, Brian, you have it? You have a
Yes,
staff report?
yes, sir. I will. I'm going to share with the board and the public the proposed findings of this ordinance. Arkansas Code Annotated Section 14-268-101 provides legislative determination that there are communities and areas in this state which have suffered from and are threatened by floods and incidents and hazards of flooding, and that flooding in the areas causes destruction of life and property and constitutes a hindrance to the health, safety, and welfare of the residents of this state. Arkansas Code Annotated Section 14-268-101 further provides that it is the policy of this state to encourage and support all appropriate actions to prevent and lessen these flood hazards and losses, and that it is necessary to adopt state and local measures which, to the maximum extent feasible, will assist in reducing damages caused by floods, and that the enactment of these measures by cities, towns, counties, and states constitutes a public purpose necessary for the health, safety, and welfare of the residents of this state. Further, Arkansas Code Annotated Section 14-268-104 provides that in addition to all other powers, and notwithstanding any provision of any other law, each city, town, or county in this state is authorized to enact, adopt, and enforce ordinances and other appropriate measures regulating, restricting, or controlling the management and use of land, structures, and other developments in flood-prone areas, and that the measures, in addition to all other matters, may restrict the development and use of land which is exposed to flood damaging. The City of Hot Springs has a long history of flooding within its downtown area, and particularly along Hot Springs Creek. If this ordinance is adopted, it would be that the City of Hot Springs Board of Directors finds that the use of city-owned land within flood zone areas for purpose of camping, as defined herein, poses a threat to life and property, and that the restrictions contained herein constitute a public purpose necessary for the health, safety, and welfare of the residents and visitors of this city. In order to do so, we are proposing that the ordinance known as the City of Hot Springs Flood Damage Prevention Ordinance be amended by prohibiting camping, as that term is defined herein, within city-owned property that lies within a special flood hazard area, as defined within the ordinance itself. For purposes of this ordinance, camping means sleeping overnight, the erection of any temporary or semi-permanent shelters on or about the landscape, such as tents, huts, astor shelters, privy shelters, or preparing a sleeping bag or other bedding material, parking a motor vehicle, motor home or trailer, or mooring of a vessel for the apparent purpose of overnight occupancy. If you're interested in seeing where the flood zones are, we could pull up the internet, I suppose, and share the map, but I think the board is relatively familiar with where the flood zones are. They are typically along Hot Springs Creek, Gulfa Creek, Stokes Creek. Those are the primary areas. This is only for city-owned property. This is not regulating activities on private property.
Any questions of Brian? Director Trustee?
Because there are some camping
Yes, sir. I can think of one.
Facilities along
Yes, sir.
both of those creeks you mentioned.
I can think of one on Lake Shore
Mhm.
at the end of Stokes Creek. Also bear in mind that there are no designated campsites on any city-owned property.
Okay.
Anywhere. So it's never been designated for camping. This is simply to avoid the possibility of the threat that's posed by flash flooding that can come at a moment's notice.
All right. So it's only on city-owned property?
Only
as
city-owned
I
property.
read it and as you just mentioned.
Lying in a flood zone.
Thank you.
That, as it's defined in the ordinance.
Thank you.
So yeah, here's a map you can kind of take a look at. You see the flood-prone areas. Those are our FEMA maps. I will also say that as far as enforcement of this ordinance is concerned, I think this bears pointing out. While the violation of this ordinance is subject to our general penalties clause, with respect to the prohibited camping that is cited here, the violator will be given 24 hours notice to vacate such prohibited area. Any personal belongings remaining after said notice shall be tagged and stored in a secure location for up to 30 days. The putative owner may contact the Public Works Office at 501-321-6778 to retrieve their personal belongings.
Any further questions of Brian? Very good. Anybody sign up to speak on this?
No, sir.
Any discussion amongst directors? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Director Trustee.
Aye.
Holliday.
Aye.
Dobbs Smith.
Aye.
Weatherford.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Mayor McCabe.
Aye. Ordinance is adopted.
Mayor, there is an emergency clause that's found in Section 8, which I'll read in its entirety. Section 8, emergency clause. The adoption of this ordinance is essential to the public health, safety, and welfare of the inhabitants and visitors of the city of Hot Springs. An emergency is therefore declared to exist, and this ordinance shall be in full force and effect from and after the time of its passage. That concludes the reading of the emergency clause. If you would, entertain a motion second to adopt.
Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Director Trustee, seconded by Director Dobbs Smith. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Emergency clause is adopted. Our final action item of the evening is to consider ordinance O-22-43. And I'll entertain a motion to suspend the rules to read by title only.
So moved.
Who made the motion?
Second.
Director Holliday made the motion.
Second.
You seconded. So we have motion and second to suspend the rules to read by title only. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Please read by title.
Ordinance O-22-43, an ordinance amending policies and regulations for parks and trails. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you would, entertain a motion second to adopt.
Motion to adopt. So moved. Director
Second.
Weatherford, seconded by Director Garcia. And again, Mr. Albright will provide the staff report.
Mayor, I'll again share the proposed findings should this ordinance be adopted. Arkansas Code Annotated Section 14-55-102 provides that municipal corporation shall have the power to make and publish bylaws and ordinances not inconsistent with the laws of this state, which as to them shall seem necessary to provide for the safety, preserve the health, promote the prosperity, and improve the morals, order, comfort, and convenience of such corporations and the inhabitants thereof. The City of Hot Springs owns and operates facilities, as that term is defined by Hot Springs Code, Section 11-2-13.1, as various city-owned public parks, pavilions, trails, and amenities thereof. If adopted, the Board of Directors finds such use of facilities during certain hours poses a risk to the health, safety, and welfare of the residents and visitors of this city. Therefore, the ordinance which governs this matter should be amended to enact the purposes stated herein, and that being that the hours of operation, with the exception of programs approved by the city, all facilities as defined herein which are owned and operated by the city shall be closed to the public from 30 minutes after sunset until 30 minutes before sunrise. That concludes my brief remarks. If you have any questions, be happy to try to address those.
Director Garcia.
Thank you, Mayor. If adopted, will all these areas be posted, signage posted with hours of operation?
Yes, ma'am, as soon as they can be crafted.
And that includes, when you said the trails, and that includes all of these areas along the Greenway and because I've heard from some residents that want us to adopt this and are thankful that we're looking at it, that live near some of the parks because of some activities that occur sometimes at night. And also at the end of TV Hill where we have that next phase, they would like for, the night activities not to be occurring as well.
Yes, ma'am.
So that includes all of that, right?
Right. All facilities would be closed to the public from 30 minutes after sunset until 30 minutes before sunrise, and those facilities include all of the various city-owned public parks, pavilions, trails, and amenities thereof.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Director Trustee?
Brian, does it matter if the parks are lit and the lights are on?
If there is programming, that is the caveat, with the exception of programs approved by the city. So obviously, if this is a ball field and there are ball games being held, it's a program that's been approved by the city. If there are reservations for a certain use of a particular pavilion, that's programming that's been approved by the city. The mayor last week referenced Velocity Park. I drove by there after that meeting, and it was dark. There are not, suitable lights there, but at some point, I think that there are plans, when budget allows, to have that lit. At that point, that could be a program that has been approved by the board, or by the city.
How does a citizen go about getting approval of a program from the city?
Reservation of a
Just by
authorized-
reserving the park?
Well, there are certain facilities that you can reserve.
Okay.
And there's a policy associated with that.
Okay.
Mr. Whittington's here if you'd like to ask him about some of those, but yes.
Okay. And then one final question. Director Holliday, I believe, talked about an event that's happening at Watkins Park that's going to go till 8 o'clock. It's dark by 7 now, and it's just going to get earlier and earlier in the next 2 weeks. Is that program
That needs to be approved
by the
city.
city?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Do we have a plan in place to reserve Watkins Park?
Yes.
And that's all I'm
Yes.
asking. I just want to make sure if someone has a legitimate purpose to be out there, there is a
Yeah,
program
sure.
in place to reserve.
Anthony can address those.
I understand about Kimry Field and those sorts of things, but just what about the other parks?
Yes. All of our pavilions that we have in our parks can be reserved. You call 321-6871. Those can be reserved with a different time slots. It's $10 an hour for Garland County residents, $20 an hour for non-Garland County residents. The stage at David Watkins can be reserved for performances. Adair Park, we do have, we mentioned approved events. Adair Park has our summer concert series. That's not one of the parks that's under this code. We have Christmas going on. So the park like that will not be under this ordinance, as well as the 3 boat accesses on our lakes: Hill Wheatley Park, Carpenter Dam Park, and Sunnybrook will not be under this because we have to provide lake access to those visitors. So those will not be under but Energy Family, Baseball Trail, those type of parks will be under this new ordinance.
Those that are not included, will they be excluded by ordinance, just like the ones he just talked about? Hill Wheatley Park, the lake access, Energy Park, are those programs approved by the city since?
Ramps are programming that's approved by the city.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And we have 3 of those.
Mm-hmm.
One above, I'm sorry, I was thinking of something else. One above Carpenter Dam, below, and Hill
Right.
Valley. Right.
Yeah, Sunnybrook is Energy technically doesn't have a ramp. It's the Sunnybrook access is separate from Energy Park.
Correct.
Even though they do connect via a wooden bridge, they're
Right.
they're technically a separate facility.
Okay.
So, yeah, 2 on Hamilton, 1 on Catherine. Mm-hmm.
Very good. Any further questions of Anthony? Thank you,
Thank you.
Anthony. Any additional questions of the board? Anybody like to speak on this issue? Any further discussion amongst directors?
Just one last question. What about enforcement of this? What's the penalty for the first violation?
It's the general penalties clause that the city
Okay.
has.
Okay.
Unless we designate a specific penalty under ordinance, we follow our general penalties provision.
Okay. And for the first offense, is that a
Could be up to
monetary fine?
Could be up to $1,000.
Okay.
That's any ordinance.
Okay.
Very good. Please call the roll.
Director Holliday.
Aye.
Dobbs Smith.
Aye.
Weatherford.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Trustee.
Aye.
Mayor McCabe.
Aye. Aye. Ordinance is adopted, and we do have an emergency clause.
We do, Mayor. That's
Attorney.
Section 4. I'll read it in its entirety. Section 4, Emergency Clause. The adoption of this ordinance is essential for the public health, safety, and welfare of the inhabitants and visitors of the city of Hot Springs. Emergency is therefore declared to exist, and this ordinance shall be in full force and effect from and after the time of its passage. That concludes your reading of the emergency clause. If you would, entertain a motion second to adopt.
Thank you.
So moved.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Director Weatherford, Director Garcia, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Emergency clause is adopted. That completes the business action items for tonight. Now we're under Board of Directors items for discussion. Directors have any item for discussion? Director Holliday.
Yeah, I just want to thank our engineering staff for coming out to the Whittington Valley Neighborhood Association meeting this week. You know, at our last meeting, we voted on the contract to start a big project around Whittington Park and the Whittington Valley neighborhood. And so Gary Carnahan and his staff came out with the big drawings and explained sort of what that final plan was and the impact on the neighborhood. And it was a well-attended meeting. So I just wanted to thank them for taking their time Monday evening.
Any other item, Director item for discussion? Hearing none, we'll look to Director Weatherford to bring us to conclusion.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
We had the plastic down for a week.